So I would say we can proceed without Nick, so he'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, we can do the pledge.
Yeah. So I'm going to call this meeting to order, so we're going to go to the formal meeting now. So, so this is the formal council meeting. I will call it to order. Let's do a pledge, please. Stand. So I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Let me do a more formal roll call. I see Molly, Jeff, Amber, Leah's here, Paloma, Pam, and Dan. So there's a full house on the council. I see the city administrator and the city attorney. Welcome back from our workshop of 5 minutes ago. Okay, so now that we've done that, the first order of business is public comment. I have a list of people who have signed up, and you can talk on any topic that you like for up to 3 minutes, and except for four public hearings?
3 and 1 to be adjourned.
One to be adjourned, right. For the 3 public hearings on the capital plan, a hydrant law, and a towing local law. If you'd like to make a comment on any of those, hold your remarks on that, and we'll get to them when we do the public hearings. Otherwise, you can talk on any topic you like. My only encouragement is that if others have said the same remarks before you, you can make yours a little shorter, but I leave that up to you. So in order of the people who have signed up, if you would come up and tell us your name and where you live. Is it Jo Marie Carr, is that right?
Correct.
Thank you. Come on up.
Yes, it's Jo Marie Carr. I live at 27 Van Ness Road in Beacon.
And bring your mic down. Yeah, there you go. You're doing
Can
great.
you hear me now?
Speak into it.
First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the City Council for allowing me to speak tonight. I understand that this is a topic that has been addressed before, but it's very concerning to the residents of Beacon, and I'd like to address it again. It's concerning the hometown hero flag banners that are flying in Beacon, or lack thereof. Many residents are outraged over the number of banners that are currently flying. I count approximately 50 flags flying on Teller Avenue and on Walcott Avenue only. 15 flags flying on Teller, 35 flying on Walcott. There's over 150 poles, to my knowledge, confirmed by Central Hudson, that are available to fly these flags. 44 poles alone on Verplank Avenue. We need some explanation why only 50 flags are flying in our community when there are so many hometown heroes that we'd like to celebrate. A couple answers to the questions that I have is, number one, I'm told that these flags that are not flying are held in storage somewhere. I'd like to know where that storage is and the number of flags that are held in storage. Number two, I'd like to know for how long they are held in storage. And number three, who determines which flags are raised and which flags are in storage. The town of Fishkill has put Beacon to shame by flying over 225 flags while Beacon is only flying 50. Please consider, I beg you to please consider raising more flags this year and possibly all flags in the future. Again, many families are concerned about this, and they're not going to just let this go. I'd definitely expect a response at some point, and I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. So, two things, audience. One, we ask that you not comment or clap or make other noises while people speak. There sometimes could be others who have differing views, and that could be viewed as somewhat intimidating. So I would just ask that you be respectful and civil. And then other than that, and also just to note that the public comment section is not one where you will hear us explaining things back to you. It's not sort of a question and answer format. So we're here to absolutely listen to you, but we just can't do a question and answer approach to the problem. All right, next one on the list is Dennis Pavlak. Let us know where you live, Dennis.
Dennis Pavlak. I used to be a resident here of Pekin. I used to be your neighbor. I live now in Hyde Park, and I believe I'm still your partner. Some people don't believe that. I could care less. Back in 2011, in Steve Gold's administration, I had a thought and an idea to start reading the Declaration of Independence here at City Hall. I've been doing this event here for 14 years. We're in our 14th year this coming July 4th. And it's right here, July 4th, 11 o'clock in the morning. All are welcome to attend. Let me go through my committee so you know who's on my committee. Chair of the event is myself, me. Ann Thomas is the vice chair. The second vice chair is the Honorable Clara Lou Gould. Kathy Caparelli, Dave Rember. We want to thank the assistance of Emily Murnane, who comes every year and shows up and helps us out. We are in our 14th year of doing this event, and it's becoming increasingly more and more popular. Just hearing the comments on the internet, such as Facebook, Instagram, as well as local sites as well. Two of our new add-ons we had last year we incorporated was Catch It If You Can, which is Win Dennis Pavlak's Money, and the Minutemen of 1776, which is stand up, say a comment about history. It's to keep the public involved in our event. My event is inclusive. The youth, the seniors, and whoever else wants to participate participates. I felt a discord tonight and a lack of responsibility and accountability when I didn't receive a phone call about being put on the agenda for community segment. And that's not my fault, because you had a full agenda tonight with the police and all this other stuff. So sometimes there's accountability and responsibility, but I didn't find that here tonight. Have a good night. See you July 4th, folks.
Thank you. Marie Prisco, come up and just tell us where you live, and if you'd like to speak, you're welcome to. Bring the mic down. There you go.
I also want to ask a couple questions about the Hometown Heroes program, and they're not the same questions that Joanne or Jo Marie raised. Where they're stored in a basement in the memorial building is what I'm told, the flags that are not flying. I spent $310 for those flags. I want mine. I don't want it stored in the memorial building basement where it can, even though they are exposed to the weather outside, where it can be flooded. I don't know who made the decision, and I don't know where they are, but I would like to know so that I can have mine. And I know there are other friends, other people who have banners who want theirs also. Secondly, I really have a complaint to make to whoever decided where these banners that are up were placed, okay? I rode down Wolcott Avenue from George Washington statue down to Loopers Plaza, and I was looking at the banners back and forth. Came to the end of the road, the very end on the left, and I saw a banner of a former mayor. Didn't say he was a former mayor, didn't give him any recognition, didn't say this veteran gave time in the service, and then also gave time to Beacon. Just put Jimi Fredericks' banner up, and I went past. That bothered me. I have to tell you, that bothered me, whoever decided the positions. Not only the who went up, but the positions and the acknowledgement that could have been given. I'd like to know that also. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it Darlene DePerno?
The veterans actually decided.
And again, tell us where you live.
Elizabeth, South Elm Street. I'm here to support everyone with the veterans flags and feel the same way. I've waited a year and a half. They finally put one up this year in a spot where you can't even see it because the trees are covering it. So I think we need to look at where you're putting the flags besides. But there are just so many poles that we could be putting these flags in. I just don't understand why we aren't doing it. So again, everything that Joe Marie said, I'm just here to support the rest of our team. But we pay money for these to put them up to honor our parents, a lot of them uncles, aunts. They served in the service. They've given their life for in the service, and they did a lot for the city. And you people wouldn't remember that because we're back, back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s that these people were around, and they made this city. They did a lot of stuff. So yeah, they need to be put up. All of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it Danielle LaValle?
My name is Danielle LaValle, 50 Church Street, Beacon, New York. A couple notes first. Workshops, if we could do that at the end, when we say a 7 o'clock agenda, I used to run meetings, 7 o'clock would be nice. And about the parking, if we could start having, if you're going to build a building, if there's not enough parking, you don't get the building. I don't see what's so hard about that. Now again, about the flags. I was born and raised in Beacon, and my grandmother, Claire Heinrich, who probably did more for this city than all of us here combined, would be totally appalled. Her brother's husband all served in the military. This town used to be the most patriotic place I've ever seen. We always had Memorial Day, Veterans Day. Everything was around community. That just doesn't exist anymore because obviously there's more to be worried about people coming up on the train out of New York City. You're here for us. You're not here for you or for whatever it is that is your agenda. Our agenda is our town that we were born and raised in. And the house next to my stepdad just sold for $500,000. Thank you all very much. You did a great job. It's really great what all of you have done with all those people bringing in all that money. You should really be really proud of yourselves that people in Beacon can't afford to live here anymore. Now about the flags, get the flags up. Whatever excuses you have are just not good enough. Oh, it's time consuming, it's too much. You know what it is? You just don't want people of Beacon to be out there front and center of a town that we used to be proud of. I'm not so proud of Beacon anymore. It may be a really hot spot, little place for people to come from New York City, but really for those of us that were born and raised here, it's really an embarrassment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is it William Bitting? Do I have that right?
I don't think so.
Okay. Tommy Joseph, if you'd like to speak. Thanks. Come on up. Tell us where you live.
Tommy Joseph, 49 Shea Lane. I thought it was a sign-in sheet at first, but I'm here to support my 3 good friends who fought for our country, and I want to piggyback on everyone else, and I think those flags should be up. Keep it short and sweet.
All right. Thank you so much, Tommy. Is it Lauren Palomo? Okay, great. Oh, come on up. How are you?
Okay. My name is Karen Palumbo, and I am a bit of an out-of-towner. I live all the way up in 47 Old Castle Point Road. And this has got to do with the support of the flags, this issue that's going on, that it's a problem. I have good friends and in-laws, too, whose flag is raised. In fact, I was happy to see one of the first ones I noted in middle of May was Phil Matrician. Phil lived to be 100, he was my sister's father-in-law. He lived to be 102. Unfortunately, he died within a month after COVID started. He didn't get the traditional funeral, but they did have a nice send-off in the cemetery. It wasn't until his 100th birthday, and Phil was totally with it, that I realized we all realized what a truly decorated World War II veteran he was. He served in the Navy, in the South Pacific, and a lot more stories arise, a lot of dangerous missions he was on. His flag is up there. He proudly deserves to be there. It came up for the first time this year. On the back of it is his son, who unfortunately was killed in Vietnam. I'm sure young Phil didn't live to be 30. I don't even know how old he was when he passed. Their flag is flying for the first time this year. To think that this is going to come down in 2 years is a total disgrace to both of their memories. And I know there's a lot of similar stories. Miss Jo Marie, as she had said, she had an uncle who actually was on the Bataan Death March, and his flag is not flying this year. This is a disgrace that these men and women that gave their lives, that we can't at least put their banners up. The excuses that they have, they're pretty lame. There's not enough polls, which it's not true. Miss Jo Marie really did her homework when it came to researching that. Last year, living in the town of Fishkill, last year was the first year the town of Fishkill put them up. And I was a bit of an instigator with getting it going. So it was small. It was like about maybe 93 of them that went up. One of them was my dad. They had a wonderful ceremony in the town hall. Most of them were family members, but some vets himself. I think the oldest vet was about 92 or 93 that was able to actually get his award. We were all thrilled. There was a lot of joy with this. When the flags did go up, I took a picture and I texted it to my father's 11 surviving grandchildren. They live all over the country, and they were thrilled to see it up there. They never knew him because he passed before any of them were born, but they were thrilled to see this. So thinking, oh my God, in 2 years, this could come down, thinking about what was going on there. So last night, actually, I called Carmine Esteban. I'm not sure if you know who he is. He's the new town of Fishkill superintendent of the highways. And Carmine was very instrumental in getting the project going.
You're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay, getting going in
Your
Fishkill.
time's up.
And that's it?
Well,
Okay,
one more
I'll make
sentence.
it short. But anyway, what happens in the town of Fishkill is that if it's damaged, it comes down, it's up to the sponsor. Other than that, it goes on forever, which is what should happen here. And I'm just going to leave you with the note. I don't know how many of you people on this town board had served in the armed forces, and if not, or your
Okay.
parents, just ask, would it feel like if they told you your flag could not be flying? Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Is it Sue Martin? Okay, thank you so much. Is there a Julianne Constantino? Let us know your name and where you live.
Yes, Julianne Constantino, 798 Walcott Avenue. First off, I want to say that I come from a family of veterans. My two brothers who are in the back, my father, my grandfather, my uncle. Last year, my 3-year-old and 6-year-old would drive down and back every single day, and we would see my brothers on front and back. This year, we expected to see them not in the same exact spot, but they're looking for them. They're not there. We drove around Beacon. We do not see them. I don't understand who chooses some to go up, some not to go up. You don't know where they served, how long they served, but they're just random ones everywhere. I think it's truly disrespectful. I am moving out of New York this year, so we won't most likely be able to see the flags, which is really disappointing, but I'm just here to support them, and hopefully, moving forward, all of them go up.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. And Carrie Constantino? Okay, thank you, Carrie. And then is it Siobhan Constantino? All right. So that's everyone on the written list. If you'd like to speak, why don't we go in order? I can see 3 other hands, and we'll get to each of them.
Clark Edmond, 2 Wilson Street. I'm going to come back to the flag in a minute, but real quick, the budget, the capital budget plan lacks the description that the council should have, and I won't go any further about it. It's woefully inadequate in terms of presentation. As for the water tank, it memorializes the illegal act of stormwater, groundwater management, and that will more than likely end up in litigation. Finally, I'd like to talk about my neighbor who I watched grow up. Everyone in the city knows his dad. And I was standing in front of the house and walks up an Army officer, and the scream came. And I walked over after a bit, expressed my condolences, and said to the individual, who everyone knows, my sorrow, and offered any assistance that the government could give, with my brother-in-law being the CFO of one of the largest Army commands in the country. And he took care of him. And I went to the Veterans Building, and I wanted to find out about getting him a flag. And it's a really tortured process that the administration of the Veteran Building more or less doesn't participate with and disavows any responsibility. And it made me very angry. And I won't say the gentleman's name. He gave a rather lame explanation as to how this system works. I made a couple of phone calls, but ultimately I threw him a $100 bill and asked him to make a flag for this recent Beacon child. It's reflective of the council's failure to harness and utilize its levers of power. At the same time, it has the expertise of construction contracts. So when it came time to renovate the building, what was hollow is the ethic that this city lies the foundation of America that we know today, being the fact that the first
15
head
seconds.
of the United States Department of Defense, the first one, a guy by the name of Forrestal, was born here. And the people who financed World War I, the first president of the Federal Reserve System
Your
that
time
made
has elapsed.
victory possible, was born here. If there is a place in America that is the foundation of the American industrial defense complex and Americans' power and hegemony, economic hegemony today,
Finish
it
the
was
sentence.
born here in Beacon.
Okay.
And the council, has the ability to manage the situation, and it is a disgrace.
Thank you so much. Next, come on up. Let us know who you are and where you live. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. My name is Kathleen Shea. I manage Davies South Terrace, the complex on South Avenue. I'm here tonight because I'm having difficulty with towing. Your law is $75 on the books.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, it's about
So we have a public hearing on that, and so can you wait a few minutes?
Okay.
This is general public comments, but we're having a
Gotcha.
public hearing on that particular law.
Oh, okay.
So we want to hear what you have to say, but can you wait a few minutes?
I can.
Thank you so much,
Mayor,
Kathleen.
maybe knowing that we have people for that, maybe we can move that one up next.
Yeah, we will. All
So we
right.
could accommodate. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Kraft. I'm a resident of Ward 3, if that matters at all. I don't think so. But I'm just grateful that this audience tonight came this year and not last year when you didn't, and you mumbled through the Pledge of Allegiance, and to hear it out of the mouth of babes, an honor. I believe it's time to redo the City of Beacon's comprehensive plan. As in the past iterations and updates, we know it takes years to get it finalized through the approval process. There needs to be public input, meetings, and workshops. Many names in the current document are no longer involved in the city and administration. I also believe when this is put together, there should not be any developers on that committee, as they have vested interest. This should not be hinged on waiting for reports from any new committee, like the new Fishkill Avenue Concept Committee. This needs to be done with the residents of the entire city, not just cherry-picked handful. I attended the recent planning board meeting, and there was an agenda item for review and discussion of allowing a rooftop dining area on a fairly new bar establishment in a residential area and located in close proximity to a historic building listed on the city's most recent comprehensive plan. What struck me most in this planning board conversation was saying that you really wouldn't notice it. I beg to differ. You would see it from 3, possibly 4 different directions. driving up and down the hill on East Main Street, looking from Leonard Street, then in your rear view mirror as you turn onto Liberty. Not once did I hear mention the impact of the historic overlay, which would have the most skin in the act, and a little mention of the city's noise ordinance. Was that building roof structure built to withstand such weight? It's all about lateral force. Is the quality of life not valued in our city anymore? That's the big question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else in the public here want to make a public comment? Again, except for the items that we're going to have hearings on, which are capital plan, hydrants, and towing. And we'll get to them. Hearing none. So Ben, anyone online want to make a comment?
If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment, you need to use the raise hand option at the bottom of your screen.
Okay, hang on a sec. All right,
Sorry,
why don't you,
what was that?
so just wait a second, Ben. We've got someone in the physical audience.
You don't have any hands.
Okay. Let us know who you are and where you live.
Denise Eve, 79 Sargent Avenue.
Thank you.
I just want to reiterate the topic of the banners. I grew up in Peekskill, and my father was a veteran, and a few years ago, my family and I put a banner up in his honor. It goes up every year, but each year, after the initial year, they ask for an additional $15, I think it is, to help fund it. So if that's a situation as to maybe why they're not doing it here, maybe people would be willing to pay a small fee to keep it going up every year, every 2 years. Something along those lines. My husband, I'm ashamed to say, he applied and had his own banner put up, and it was very nice. It landed at the end of our street, which was very nice. He served in the Navy during the Vietnam War, but he's very proud of it, as are we all very proud of it. So I would hate to see a 2-year limit imposed when I think we have enough other large roadways where we could display them. So I hope it will be reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so that ends the first opportunity for public comment. We're going to have 3 hearings in rapid-fire order. I will note to everyone now, these 3 hearings are on the capital plan, on a hydrant local law, and on a towing local law.
Do towing first?
Yeah, we will. So I'm going to give people a minute if some people want to depart, and then we'll start up next.
Do you need a motion to change the
Yeah.
order?
So I'm going to entertain a motion to move the public hearing on towing up to the next item.
Motion to move the public hearing on towing up to the next item on the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So our first public hearing is on towing. And I will open the public hearing and ask Nick to provide a brief explanation, and then we'll hear from the public.
Thank you, Mayor. So this local law would amend the existing towing provisions in the city code. 2 main points to it. The first is to remove the provision that permits booting of vehicles within the city of Beacon. So that would now be prohibited. So vehicles cannot be booted. And so that's the vast majority of the changes. You have in your packet a memo from our office of May 29th that summarizes some other changes that have been made since, well, that was made in May after, as a result of the May 28th workshop and discussed at your June 3rd meeting. The other point of the local law is to also provide some more consumer protections, outline the actual process that the police go through with respect to the towing of vehicle, the advance notification required, so that the police can ensure that the vehicle is being appropriately towed, and also providing some modifications to the consumer notices with respect to signage in the parking lots, posting of those signs to make sure that they're a reasonable font and able to be viewed, and also removing the exact fee from the ordinance and providing that it's within the fee schedule to be set by the city administrator with respect to the towing cost.
Okay. So with that, I'll open the public hearing, and I'll ask Kathleen Shea to come back up. And while you're doing that, I will point out to others that this hearing is strictly about towing, and that I'm expecting comments to be directly on the subject. And if the chair feels that they're not directly on the subject, I will cut off the speaker. Okay?
So I am having difficulty towing cars out of my lots. What happens with us is we have people who just kind of want to drop a car off to us, and it sits there and starts growing all sorts of moss, and I can't get a tow company to come in because on the books right now it's $75, which is, it's just, nobody's going to come and tow for $75 for me. You also have a distance restriction. I work with a gentleman over in across the river. He's willing, because I have a building over in Newburgh as well, so I try to stay within my people. But, I'll take Beacon. I did speak with a local person. I believe Tompkins Terrace is using them. But they want $175 to $200 to tow cars. So I need help. I have abandoned cars in my lot, and I look like Tobacco Row, and I don't want to look like Tobacco Row. I'd like to get my cars towed. And also, we have issues where tenants cannot find parking, and, we have stickers on the vehicles, and we do occasionally have to pull out unstickered vehicles. So just, so the tenants can find parking. So I am pleading with you to please change this, because I need to get rid of these cars and I need to be able to tow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Someone else like to talk on this topic? Sure, come up, tell us your name and where you live.
My name is Kristen Grasovich. I'm the property manager over at Tompkins Terrace, and I am experiencing the same exact scenario. We are having cars being left in our parking lot, and right now, currently, we are under construction, and it's hard for people to come home and not be able to find parking because of cars that are broken down or just being left there. I have people that have flat tires, and they just stay there for very long periods of time. So it's very unfortunate for my residents who live there and would like to be able to utilize their parking. So also because of the fact of the fee being only $75 for a private parking, it's just hard to get somebody in there to tow. And I'm just, trying to fight for my residents as well, because they live there and they deserve to be able to park close or even near their housing. So,
okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else want to talk on this topic?
It occurs to me on the topic of using the city's powers and leverage to manage the necessities of life in the city of Beacon, the topic of apartment parking lots and owners that have vacant land that have cars deposited on them is more than just deferral of process. The city could just as easily pass a law that any owner of a large parking lot over X number of cars has to issue permits as part of the lease agreement or as part of the or as part of city regulation that would then allow a property manager or an owner to seek to have the car ticketed and raise revenue for the city's time of having the police officer drive through the parking lot and issue tickets. Of course, there's an administrative problem with visitors and the like, but I would imagine that there might be some kind of badging that would be temporary for a visitor. The point being is the city has the municipal powers to be creative. And what could be more creative than an illegally parked car that allows for a police officer to issue a $150 ticket?
I'm not saying it's the right answer here, folks. But what I am saying is time and time and time again, we just seem to not reach a little bit imaginatively or creatively to actually solve problems. And this is just a cheap shot at illustrating. I'm not sure there's enough thinking power and brain power going on here. And the worst part is when you talk about budgets, you know?
Let's not talk budgets here. Thank you very much. Okay, come on up. Tell us who you are, where you live.
Hi, my name is Asia. I also work at Tompkins Terrace. The $75 is kind of whack because, we can't take out anybody, people parking handicap, people parking other people's, just point period blank. We need that to be lifted. It would be greatly appreciated because you think people are annoying at this council meeting. You should imagine Tompkins Terrace calling you upset about parking. So thank you and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Teresa Kraft, I'd have to look at my notes, but I was at that workshop meeting, and I thought most of the night was talking about helping these complexes alleviate those dropped, abandoned cars. So support them any way you can.
Okay. Anyone else in the public, in the physical public, want to make a comment on towing? This is your opportunity. Ben, is there anyone online?
No hands raised online.
So I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing on towing.
Motion to close the public hearing on towing?
Second.
So that was Molly and Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Our next public hearing is on the capital program, which you just heard the council talk through with Susan Tucker explaining it. So I'll open the public hearing and ask if Chris has any comments before we go ahead.
No, I think Susan did a good job of giving an overview on how much debt that we have. For people that are tuning in, one of the reasons that we use debt is because a lot of these assets are in service for many decades. So it doesn't make sense to pay for them 1 year in an operating budget, and so we amortize that over the probable useful life of the asset. And I think we've put together a plan and a financing plan that continues the investment in the city, but is also careful because we are getting, we're doing a lot of work, and we're going to have to pay for the firehouse. We're still paying for the highway garage. And one of the other big ticket items that we've got on, as you know, is the ladder truck. So we tried to be very careful this year about what we're doing, particularly in light of the firehouse coming on our debt schedule soon. And I think Sue did a great job giving an overview in the workshop portion.
Okay, so with that, I'll open the public hearing. If anyone would like to make a comment on the capital plan, please come up. Let us know who you are, where you live, and keep your comments focused on the capital plan. Thank you so much.
Clark Edmond, 2 Wilson Street. So I do have some highly specific observations about the capital plan. One is the water main renovation from Blackburn to Prospect. I can't quite figure out how that main works. And the lack of an illustration or explanation for the public to kind of think about or learn from is kind of like an old story from me. Another version of that story would be the storm water project on DePeyster, Hidden Brook to Violet. And again, I don't quite understand how that works or why. And does it put more stormwater on my land illegally or less? I don't know. It'd be nice to be able to look at a document. Excuse me, please. I am talking, I am number one talking. Number two, I'm talking about a specific project within the capital plan. Now, if you want to isolate and silence me, go ahead. You've been doing it for a long time. But eventually, you're going to have to tell that to a judge. Okay, now moving on. Speaking of judges.
No, capital plan.
Okay, capital plan. Let's talk about the water tower capital plan. So when it was...
Water tower is not in the capital plan.
Excuse me?
Water tower is not in the capital plan. Not that I know of.
The water
Not in the finance.
It's
plan.
not
tower,
in the-
Long-term.
it is in the capital plan, okay? And it is another obstruction of data, which is really basically a criminal filing, because here you have a sketch that doesn't have all the symbols on the sketch in terms
Sketch
of the
isn't in the
key.
capital plan. The
We're
capital
talk-
plan has dollar amounts.
We're
Please
talking
focus your
about-
comments on those.
No, we're talking about waste of taxpayer money in the capital plan to go ahead and promote the political agenda of members of this council. Some of them, not universally entirely. And the point is the masking of information as not presented by the capital plan in descriptive detail that mask questionable activity is very, very much open for discussion here,
15
Mr. Mayor.
seconds.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to talk about the capital plan? Come on up.
I believe this public hearing should be kept open as new number discussions came to light during the workshop and at the council meeting. I am hesitant to have council approve the future years, 2027, 28, 29 capital estimates. I know it's a living document and the cost can be adjusted and reduced, as well as even be increased, but we know it will pass unanimously. As per your proposal, you've slated to add a street camera in the year of 2025 at Main and Tyranda, but I believe that will be too late for the safety of both residents and tourists alike. Sounding like a broken record, I want the city to spend a little money immediately before the official start of summer 2024. Please install that much-needed pedestrian crosswalk sign at the corner of Main and Tyranda. At that intersection today, there is only one sign on the south side of Main. Cars are coming from 4 different directions at that bend in the road. I understand there's no guarantee of safety with pedestrian signage, but it will help the city's cause if a lawsuit should arise. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor,
want to-
point of order, we didn't change a single number in the presentation. Not one.
Okay. Anyone else want to make a comment on the capital plan? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, a motion to close the public hearing on the capital plan.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Dan
Second.
and Amber, thank you. All in favor of closing the public hearing on the capital plan, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And now the last public hearing is on hydrants. Nick, you want to give us I'm going to open the public hearing. Nick, will you give us 2 sentences on that since we covered it in the workshop pretty well?
Yes. First sentence, this concerns regulations of private fire hydrants. Second sentence, the law also sets forth various provisions regarding permits, fees, and penalties that are required when accessing both public and private fire hydrants, semicolon, that's it.
I'm so pleased that someone actually follows direction at times. Having opened the public hearing, anyone would like to make a comment on hydrants, very specifically, come up now. Seeing no one. Anyone online, Ben?
None, Mayor.
Motion to close the public hearing on hydrants.
Second.
So that was Amber and Pam. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. And then finally, I will take a motion to adjourn the public hearing concerning parking requirements to July 15th.
Motion.
Second.
Amber and Paloma. Any discussion on adjournment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Reports. Start with the council. Which side? You want to start on your side, Molly?
Sure. A couple of things. Eid Mubarak for those who celebrate. Eid al-Adha. I hope you have a wonderful Eid or have had if you mark your end of celebration today or end of the week. It was also great to see all the people who came out today to talk about the thing that's important to them to make the beacon that they want. And I look forward to ways that they want to get involved and ways we can, if there are opportunities to look at this program, great, or other ways to make the community one that they want. Speaking of making our community great, it was great to hear from Sans Frost and see him perhaps one last time, although I wouldn't be surprised like others who retired that he might find excuses to come back and visit us occasionally. But as he kind of marked throughout his career, he did at the end here is recognizing everyone else who helped him do his job, and just a real hallmark of creating the kind of community that he wanted to be in within Beacon as well. A couple of events. We had Family Pride this past weekend. That was wonderful to see everyone who came out. We also have a Juneteenth celebration coming up on Wednesday for those who feel they'll be able to tolerate the heat in the middle of the day, but it'll be a wonderful event down by the river if you're able to make it on Wednesday. And then lastly, I will have office hours this coming Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. in Pole Hill Park if the heat allows, or if there are, I think, thunderstorms currently predicted for that afternoon, I might be just in Bank Square Coffee House next door. And with that, I will pass it to Jeff.
Thanks very much. I'll note that last time I made announcements, I talked about a program that was made possible by the Biden administration's Inflation Reduction Act. It's here in New York. It was one of the first states to pass the New York HERES Act, which was for home electrification and rebates program. It is available, targeting low and middle income families to help them do improvements in their homes. And I would point out that in the summertime, it gets a lot of attention in the winter to keep heat in. But air sealing your home and doing good upgrades is just as good for keeping the cool in during the hot weather. It's people are often surprised by how magnificently their air cooling, if they're lucky to have it, works when they seal up their homes. So please do contact me if you're interested in that program about how to take advantage of it. And I just want to say thanks to our Climate Smart Communities Coordinator and the Conservation Advisory Committee. We received a draft of the Beacon Draft Climate Action Plan. It was sent out in a newsletter on the 29th of May. Receiving comments, I think, till the 5th for public comment. We are anticipating an updated version of that for us to review and make comment on by the 30th of this month, so pay attention to it. There's a lot of great information in the Draft Climate Action Plan. I know we'll hear more about it, but it cannot emphasize enough how much really good information and guidance there is and can be, including the necessity of engaging the community in these strategies that will bring a safer, more resilient community. So thank you.
All right. I want to thank our local Elks Lodge for year over year. They host a Flag Day ceremony. This past year, it was on Saturday, June 8th. There's a lot of history. If you've never attended, I would catch the next one. You will learn something, I'm sure. So I appreciate them carrying that tradition onward, and I look forward to celebrating their 100-year anniversary. I believe that is next month. In terms of the Hometown Heroes banners, I would be happy to participate in a discussion. I know that this is somewhat of a public-private partnership. There's other people involved besides the city, so I'd be happy to participate in working something out and seeing if we can come to some kind of agreement that works for everybody. I certainly appreciate all the commentary we got from people this evening about how important it is to them and their families. The other thing that seemed to be a bit of a hot topic this past week was invasive vegetation management. So I would perhaps recommend that we look at policies, or if there's a procedure specifically around clearing invasives that might help us do that in a thoughtful way that, again, works for everybody involved. And lastly, just ditto on Dan's comments at the end of workshop. I've asked previously to bring back our council priorities and kind of agree on what we would like to pursue as next steps so that we can start picking some of those up. That is all for me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what was just said ahead of me, but I'll keep my comments brief. Just noting on the Juneteenth event, which is from 11 to 5 this Wednesday, that the MTA has brought their parking policy in line, and so you will be able to park for free in the MTA parking lot on your way to Pete and Toshi Seeger Park. If you are going on Wednesday, this was an issue last year, so glad that that has been resolved. And also noting that it will be very hot this week, and I just like question if we have any designated cooling centers here in Beacon aside from the library, which I know is sort of a de facto cool place that's accessible to the public.
Thank you. I'm like agreeing with everybody, everything. I'm going to keep it short. And I also, the hometown hero flags, I would be also willing to participate in discussion on that as a father of my father was a World War II vet, for Britain, so I won't have a flag in Beacon. But I appreciate all his service, and I appreciate my son-in-law's service and all the people that were here, and I hope that we can come to, everybody, I don't know if everybody's going to be happy, but some kind of, just get more information on the private and the public, kind of getting us all on the same page and what's happening there, and then also the invasives. That is definitely an issue to maybe discuss. And also just congrats again to Sans Frost on his retirement, and also to our new police chief and our new lieutenant, sergeant, and detective. That's all I have.
Thanks. Thanks. I also wanted to see if we could get, I was going to ask for an update from the city, just kind of on what has been going on with the flags, because I didn't really quite understand I understand the questions that the public has, but I don't really understand who's making the calls and with what rationale. So and if there's any way that I can contribute to a solution that satisfies everybody, I'd be glad to be a part of that as well. So the only other thing that I have is that I will not have office hours in the month of July because I'll be on vacation, but I'll be back in August for office hours. But in the meantime, you can reach me by email and set up one-on-one time with me, damarblair at beaconny.gov. Thanks.
Thank you all. You do me a service by going first, so I have fewer things to say. I'll only comment, June is usually the month that my family spends some time out of town. I had the opportunity for part of that time to be with a group of 10 who are 40-year friends from law school. They were all lawyers. I ended up doing something else. But it was a very cool crowd. I was the dean of William & Mary Law School. It was a former partner at a law firm who gave up the job to go work in the environmental division of the Justice Department. A lot of cool people. So I had a good time. And actually, one of them and myself, then went to, did the Hudson Valley Historical Tour, which never ceases to impress me as to the extent of the history in the valley. This was on the Revolutionary War, so we went to Saratoga, to Fort Ticonderoga, and then we toured West Point for the redoubt features, not the campus itself, but the fortifications during the Revolution. So we had a good time. Other than that, I'm just happy with all the other comments, and I'll turn it over to Chris if you've got anything.
I have capital project updates. We are really at our peak season for doing work, so water meter letters are going out this week. Molly has promised to text me when she gets hers, so I have ocular proof that there is actually this letter being received by, so that is going, these are letters going out to the first ward saying that the city is upgrading the MXU units on the water meters. We need to be able to access your water meter to enable to do that, and so the letter gives you ways to set up the appointment. Please work with us to try to get through that. We have a lot of water meters to do. We have almost 5,000, about 4,500 water meters to get through. But we're glad that that's finally moving. 2 other construction projects have started this week, and you're going to see test pits being dug on Teller Avenue for the Teller and Fishkill Avenue Rehabilitation Project. We just received a traffic plan for the West Main Pump Station. They will be keeping lanes open, but they're doing test pits as well. The heat is very serious this week, starting tomorrow at noon through Friday is a very dangerous heat wave. The library has signed up as a cooling center, and we've now asked the county to list them as such. We had used to use the Salvation Army. They're very difficult to have them get back to us, but we will try again tomorrow to see if they will do that. I would give you background on the Hometown Heroes at the next workshop. I think there's a lot that really needs to be talked about on that. The city does not administer the program, but we do play a role, and I'm glad to explain that, and then we can go through what our options are.
I forgot to mention, there's two of us at this table who had a parent who was in the British Army. So.
3, actually, yes.
3?
Oh.
There you go. I love it.
Am I the only one who had a parent in the U.S. Army?
Royal
Navy.
Engineers.
Okay, all right.
Just a question about the cooling stations, Chris. The Holland Library is not going to have extended hours for the cooling station, right? Like, it's going to be their normal
No, it's just
hours?
the normal hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we could look into to our veterans building serving as a cooling station going forward? Because then we could potentially have longer hours, and I think that building naturally stays pretty cool. But I don't know what it takes to keep a cooling station open, but.
I don't know that that's our best
No?
option.
Okay.
I would say we were talking about maybe the West Center Street Recreation Center. The issue is having staff there, like, essentially the library covers the hours that we have staff there, and also the memorial building does close at the end of the day when Guardian Revival. And I know that there are concerns about security of having people in there without other people supervising. But we're looking at other options.
Yeah.
This is early in the season to hit these
Yeah, I know.
temperatures, and it's scary.
I also wonder about the high school, as they already have the cooling set up and have some large spaces, but obviously the city doesn't control that. So particularly if they're not in session over the summer, as you say, Chris, when we might see more weeks like this.
I think an important part of the whole cooling station concept is us finding something that we can use year after year, so every year we don't ask, where is the cooling station? We just know, and we can advertise and remind people.
Okay. All right, to be worked on. So let's go on to local laws and resolutions. We have 6. The first one is concerning fire hydrants. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt local law 3 concerning fire hydrants?
Motion?
Second.
So Molly and Dan. Nick, 2 sentences.
We discussed it at workshop. I explained it at the public hearing.
Are there any
You're on.
questions or comments
Bravo.
from the council? Thank you so much. It's just so wonderful that someone actually pays attention to the mayor. Anyway, any comments from the council? Questions, concerns? Yeah, we've been through this, right? So that's why we can keep this short. Hearing no comments or questions, all those in favor of adopting local law 3 concerning fire hydrants, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. The second one is the fee schedule concerning fire hydrants. So I'd look for a motion to amend the schedule of fees for fire hydrants.
Motion.
Second?
So that was Amber and Molly. Nick, you can do 2 sentences, 1 sentence, or no sentence on this one.
This is just establishing the fees in accordance with the aforementioned local law that was just adopted.
Yep. Any questions or comments or issues?
I'm happy that the one permit for the 0 is in there, just it gives us possibilities. Not that I'm saying to charge, and it also, if they looked at the schedule, they would see 0 for the private
That's right, for the annual
flushing.
Yes. I thought that was fair, and staff pointed out that it's really included within the permit for the fire hydrant usage, but we wanted a requirement for a permit so we could monitor that they are flushing the private hydrants.
Everyone good? All right, all in favor of amending the schedule of fees concerning fire hydrants, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right, so the third one is the local law concerning towing. Can I get a motion and a second to adopt local law 4 on towing?
Motion.
Second.
So that was Amber and Dan. And Nick, anything you would add on this?
I would just point out that there is a requirement for the impound lot to be within 10-mile radius of the city, and that's also to allow for the convenience of the ability of those whose vehicles are towed to have access to them in a reasonable fashion. And the fee is being removed, and then it would be consistent with the fee that the city contracts with pursuant to its contract, which is more than $75.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I took the comment to be, it was the combination of those two that was particularly, created the hardship, and so if the fee changed, that working locally would be workable, at least in the short term. So,
We didn't want to change the distance. It
Yeah,
shouldn't-
no,
it
the
shouldn't
points
be any
that-
further
that-
than
that
that.
Nick
It really
pointed
should
out,
be in
yeah.
Beacon or
Yeah.
right on the environment.
Yeah, and it sounds like there were options for that. that are already
We
known.
have 2 people that will do towing at the proposed fee, which is $175.
Yeah. And I did appreciate some of the people who are directly, dealing with our current law coming out and just reiterating for those who, hadn't heard and we hadn't heard before, the people who are experiencing that now, and why it's important to change it.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? All right, so let's have a vote. All those in favor of adopting local law 4 concerning towing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. All right, so the next one, can I get a motion and a second for a negative declaration on seeker for the Mount Beacon water tank replacement?
Motion.
A second.
So Dan and Amber. Nick, it is a negative deck motion, right?
And it's correct. It's a determination that the bonding for the water tank project, or the installation of the tank, the removal of the tank, and the entering into of 2 easements, one with a resident and one with New York State, all of those actions combined will not have a potential significant adverse impact on the environment, so this is a negative declaration.
Okay. Any comments or questions?
I feel like I'm Molly. I noticed that there needs to be a little correction. On the 4th whereas, it's, talking about the New York State Office of the Historic Preservation issued its.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've been trying to email those in now. But I didn't catch that one, Pam.
And thank
Thank
you, by the way, for the other changes.
And we only put one mistake in this one, so thank you for catching it.
I wondered where the other changes went to. They disappeared.
Thank you, Pam.
I'll try to privately email you on those next time.
Okay. So, all those in favor of a negative declaration under SECRA for the replacement of the Mount Beacon water tank, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. And this one is authorizing an easement. So can I get a motion and a second to authorize an easement with New York State Parks Recs for the replacement of the Mount Beacon water tank?
Motion.
Second.
Dan and Amber. And Nick, we've discussed. Anything you would add?
No.
Okay.
Mayor, I have one minor change I would ask. On the be it further resolved, the title of the superintendent of water and, it should be water and sewers. There's no superintendent of water and wastewater. And
All
so in
right.
the last paragraph of the resolved, I would just strike wastewater and ask that say sewers to conform with the civil service position that Ed holds.
All right, so I'll take a motion and a second to amend the resolution to replace the word wastewater with the word sewer.
Sewers.
Sewers.
Motion.
Second.
So that was Amber and Molly, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. And with that, any further comments on this resolution? And if not, all those in favor of authorizing an easement with the New York State Office of Parks and Recs for our replacement Mount Beacon water tank, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and the final one is a resolution authorizing the implementation and funding of the cost of reconstruction of Teller Avenue. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Amber and Dan. And Chris, anything you would add on this?
No, it's just shifting approximately 1.77 million from the Fishkill share of the project to the Teller Avenue part of the project.
Everyone good with that? So all in favor of authorizing the implementation and funding costs of reconstruction of Teller, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. It's about 7 or 8 minutes, 9 minutes after 9, and we have gotten to the approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of June 3rd?
Motion.
Second.
Molly and Jeff. And any comments, questions, additions, changes, exclamation points?
No, we missed Amber that day, but, yeah.
Thank
That
you
was
for
it.
that.
She didn't miss us, to be clear, so.
You didn't hear her denying that one either. Okay, everyone, all in favor of approving the minutes of June 3rd, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. This is the second opportunity for public comments. I see no one in the audience. Other than
Come on down.
please come up.
Stepping out from behind.
State your name and where you live.
Pete Skorowitz, 23 Roundtree Court. I just wanted to take a moment to congratulate, excuse me, all of our fifth graders who are going to be moving up to middle school. I think it's 25th or the 26th. I think Rombout moves up from 8th to high school on the 25th. And of course, cheap plug for my son, class of 2024, Thursday night at the stadium. So be careful of traffic over there. From what I understand, the students start arriving at 6. And the graduation starts at 7, so that whole area is going to be a little crazy this week. And the final thing I wanted to say is you folks invited, I believe it was the first meeting in November, the German exchange students with Kelly Ellenwood. They are returning to Germany on the 29th. That's their trip back, which my daughter is part of. So that program continues to flourish, and all the kids are real excited. That, you know, they kept in contact. Dan knows what I'm talking about. They all kept in contact with each other since they were all here in October, and it's looking forward for next year. I think they already had a meeting, from what I understand, to get the next year's sophomores on board. So just some school news. Congratulations to all the students. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Pete.
So the next meeting will be on July 1st at 7 o'clock. It will be a workshop and a council meeting?
Yes.
Might we want to notice the council meeting at 8 instead of 7?
I was going to make the same suggestion if we can. I think it's
If
been
you-
helpful in the past, or we have done it in the past.
If you do, just realize then that as you noticed at 8 o'clock, if you're done by 7:30, 7:40, you have to wait till 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Do we want to notice it, well?
I think we'll have an hour of stuff to talk about.
Oh, that's right.
Especially if we're talking about
Yeah.
affordable
Yeah,
housing,
talk about
we should be
housing,
good.
yes. Let's notice it for 8.
What you could do is notice it with some indication that, you know, to immediately follow the adjournment of a work session, so people have some notice that it's not starting at 7, but it's immediately following the work session.
Yeah.
So I can work with Chris on that language.
All right, I'll leave it to you all to decide.
Thank
All right.
you.
Having said that, I am waiting for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So Pam and Amber, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.